Mr. President, did you address the election meddling issues that came up in the Mueller report with Mr. Putin today?
We discussed it. He actually sort of smiled when he said something to the effect that it started off as a mountain and it ended up being a mouse. But he knew that because he knew there was no collusion whatsoever.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, we're going to look at the latest news. Plus, we're going to take an in-depth look at what the command chain could have looked like in the plot to set up the President of the United States for the Russia collusion hoax, and a whole bunch more. So you guys are going to stick around and check it out. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. I'm your host, Craig, and I always like to begin by saying thank you to everybody who hit that subscribe button. If you haven't, come here to the landing page, hit that subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications, and smash the like button if you guys like this content and want to see me make more. So here we are. This is May 2nd, was our last Q post. Around 4 days ago, we had Q giving us a post that I went over in previous videos, but that's where we're at right now. Nothing new, except we're going to get into the latest news, which you guys are going to want to hear. And if you guys want to get caught up on what this post is and everything else with Q, especially the latest new posts, come here to the landing page, watch these last few videos. They'll give you a great idea of where we're at, what's been going on. And if you're scratching your head and go, what's QAnon? Please come watch this video right here. What is QAnon the Great Awakening? It will give you all that information and much, much more. So today, what you guys saw at the beginning of this video was a press conference. Well, it was basically a televised meeting between the Slovakian Prime Minister and President Trump. But I want to play a clip from this. This is kind of the final excerpt. I want you guys to watch this because that clip was cut off of this basically full conference. And this is a part that I think is really important. And it's important with regard to the story that we're going to get into here in the next minute. So you guys are going to want to watch this.
Mr. President, are you going to nominate the Defense Secretary, Shanahan, or are you going to make it official?
It'll be discussed next week.
Mr. President, it's World Press Freedom Day. Can you say anything? We've heard a lot about your grievances to us.
Say it again. Say it again.
World Press Freedom Day. We've heard a lot about your grievances about us. But can you say something that you can improve to improve communication and relationship with the press?
Well, I think I have a very good relationship with some of the press, and unfortunately, some of the press doesn't cover me accurately. In fact, they go out of their way to cover me inaccurately. So I don't think that's a free press. I think that's a dishonest press. And I want to see a free press. I mean, today I was happy to see on the front page of the New York Times for the first time where they were talking about spying, and they were talking about spying on my campaign. That's a big difference between the way they've been covering, but that's a big story. That's a story bigger than Watergate as far as I'm concerned. So I want to see freedom of the press, and I get treated fairly by some press, but I get treated very unfairly by other press, and frankly, I think that's very dishonest, and I don't consider that. When you have stories that are purposely written badly, in many cases, very much on purpose, I mean, you look at it, that's not free press. That's the opposite of free press.
Mr. President, have you decided whether you'll invoke executive privilege as it relates to Don McGahn?
That'll all be determined over the next week or so.
But you said it was done.
But, you know, I will say this. There's been no president in history that has given what I've given in terms of looking at just a total witch hunt. I call it the Russian hoax. It turned out to be no collusion, no obstruction. It was a total hoax. And yet I was transparent. We gave 1.4 million documents. We gave hundreds of people. I let him interview the lawyer, the White House lawyer, for 30 hours. Think of that, 30 hours. I let him interview other people. I didn't have to let him interview anybody. I didn't have to give any documents. I was totally transparent because I knew I did nothing wrong. It turned out I did nothing wrong. No collusion with Russia. Think of it. $35 million they spent, they wasted over a period of 2 years. No collusion, no obstruction. Thank you all very much.
So what you guys saw there was President Trump basically laying it all out. Now, he's been doing this over and over and over again. And the more we see this information, the more we need to understand that there was a lot more going on than anybody could ever fathom. And it's only now that the information is being brought out through different avenues that we're starting to see the fuller scope of what happened. One of the most important stories to understanding the whole Russia collusion hoax is how was it orchestrated? Who were the key players? Who were the individuals overseas in Europe and directing this whole operation? And who were the ones setting up the whole predicate for the Russia collusion investigation and subsequent special counsel of Robert Mueller? In order to understand this, there's a few things we have to think about. First of all, here's over on the boards at Vote. One of the anons here actually was talking about something, and it kind of brought something to my mind. They were talking about how they heard that Mueller omitted any and all evidence that would have taken the investigation in a direction that might have pointed any guilt at HRC. And these are questions that they have for Robert Mueller regarding that. The anon says that their questions are basically, why might they be stalling? Should POTUS wait with the declass until after Mueller testifies? If Mueller played his cards right, could his testimony potentially explain away any evidence released in the declass? And of course, these questions are referring to the fact that Mueller nobody knows when Mueller's going to be testifying. I've just heard today breaking story that it might be on May 15th, but nobody really knows, and they don't know why it's taken so long for Congress to get him on the Hill. Now, I have a theory about this, and my theory is pretty simple. Basically, Mueller's very reluctant to step up to the plate and go testify in front of Capitol Hill because he doesn't know the extent to which declassification is going to occur. What does that mean? That means basically that President Trump has promised to declassify all of the information that is surrounding this whole Russia collusion hoax special counsel investigation. So, with that in mind, what is the one thing that Mueller would be risking more than anything else if he were to testify under oath in front of Congress before that full declassification happens? Perjury. He could definitely set himself up for a perjury charge, just like James Clapper did when he was asked under oath in front of Congress whether or not the intelligence community spies on the American people, to which he basically replied, no, they do not, when in fact we know that they have massive dragnet surveillance systems that take metadata and everything that you ever do. Heck, Q told us that Facebook is actually a DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Projects Agencies, which is like our NASA of military technology research organizations, agencies, and that they're the ones who created Facebook. It was originally LifeLog, and then it was given to Zuckerberg to basically put out into the world. And, going over that, we all figured out what Facebook is, and I have a special announcement about Facebook. I may be actually appearing back on Facebook now. I'm going to have an official Facebook page and everything. You know why? Because I've thought of something, and we'll talk about that at the end of this. But back to the point I'm trying to make. Basically, what happened here is that we know Clapper lied in front of Congress, and that was the perjury trap he set for himself, basically, by answering that question the way he did. And not only did James Comey do it, but now Mueller is the next up. And these people, they're really stuck between a rock and a hard place, because they either tell the truth on Capitol Hill and basically incriminate themselves that way. They lie, further incriminate themselves by falling into the perjury trap, or they plead the fifth and avoid incriminating themselves while still having not answered the questions. And nobody wins in any of these scenarios. So let's take a look at what Maria Bartiromo does here with George Papadopoulos, where they go over the timeline of how he met Joseph Mifsud. Mifsud is a key player in this whole Russia collusion hoax. And you have to understand, the predicate up to this for George Papadopoulos was he was called by Corey Lewandowski he called Corey Lewandowski, back in 2015, June, asking him about possibly working for the Trump campaign. He was reached out to shortly thereafter on his LinkedIn account and offered a job at this institute in Europe that was basically it was a front for what seems to be a broader intelligence operation that was being conducted by not only U.S. intelligence, but Australian and British intelligence. And the whole point of it was to have George Papadopoulos go to these meetings with this Joseph Mifsud in order to set him up as basically a patsy to have a surveillance warrant be put out on him through the FISA court and then have a predicate for an investigation into him that could then give them access legally to President Trump, his campaign, and his associates, and so much more. So this is really just the tip of the iceberg, not to mention the fact that previously George Papadopoulos had actually worked for the campaign of Ben Carson. So, I mean, when you're thinking about all this stuff, you got to put it in context of what the timeline is that's going to be, you're going to see here on this interview between Maria Bartiromo and George Papadopoulos. There's a timeline they're going through, and they cover everything that I just talked about. But now this is kind of going forward from there and how he was basically set up. You guys got to watch this.
Tell me about Mifsud. Who is Mifsud?
Yeah, so I'm introduced to Mifsud by the former Italian Foreign Minister Scotti and this company I worked for. And Mifsud basically is the overseas professor that Bob Mueller falsely characterized to the world as some sort of Russian cutout who was trying to conspire with me or collude with me and provide information that the Russians had Hillary Clinton's emails.
Now, he drops a bomb on you in one of the meetings.
Yeah, so after I meet him in mid-March, so before my name is even public in the Washington Post, these people are introducing me to Joseph Mifsud. So clearly there were some sort of eyes on me even before my name was public. So he meets with me. We have some bizarre conversations moving forward about a potential meeting between Trump and Putin. He could never introduce me to anyone of substance in the Russian government or anyone of substance in general. And in late April, he lets me know that hey, George, did you know that the Russians have Hillary Clinton's emails? And that's where, I was very suspicious of this person. And actually, facts and events preceding that moment and after were very bizarre.
So he tells you Russia has emails of Hillary Clinton's, and this is the bomb that you feel was the whole reason that they wanted you to go to Rome to meet him, because they wanted him to tell you about these emails that Russia had of Hillary Clinton. Is that right?
That's absolutely correct. I think this person was some sort of plant. He's been outed recently living openly next to the U.S. Embassy in Rome. He's being protected actually by Italian intelligence right now,
so they didn't
and he's
want
gone
you
missing for 2 years.
They wanted you to go back and tell Trump about Russia having Hillary Clinton emails. Did you do that?
Absolutely not. That wasn't my job. You hear a lot of gossip and strange things when you're in these circles. And the last thing I was going to do was go and talk to the campaign about something that I thought was illegal.
Now, what happens next is really interesting to me, because over the course of the next 4 weeks, first you get the bomb thrown in your lap from Mifsud that he tells you Russia has Hillary Clinton's emails. You don't do anything with that information, but you think he's hoping you will. But in the next month, you get outreach from lots of different intel people. Is that right? You are contacted by U.S. intel officials, British intel officials, Australian intel officials. What was that all about?
Oh, that's a great point. So actually, April 15th, the Australian government reached out to me for the first time. April 26th, Joseph Mifsud tells me this information. May 2nd, I have the British government reaching out to me from this man, Tobias Elwood, who was the number 2 at the British Ministry of Foreign Affairs, where he wants to have a conversation with me and get to know me a little bit. May 4th, I'm contacted by 2 officials of the DIA at the U.S. Embassy in London named Gregory Baker and Terence Dudley. And then I meet on May 10th, this Australian diplomat, Alexander Downer, who I testified under oath to Congress and told the FBI and Bob Mueller that I felt he was spying on me and recording my conversations.
So this is all what you believe is spying, recording your conversations early 2016, way before there was any FISA warrant to actually get a warrant to spy on anybody. And then it was Downer, the Australian intel guy, who really they got you with, because Alexander Downer has a conversation with you, and you were asked by the FBI, when did you first meet Downer? You tell them what?
Oh, so the FBI, so basically the FBI interview was, I brought up Joseph Mifsud, and I brought up this whole idea of who told me this information about emails, and then I got caught in a perjury trap, and actually that was my charge. I got charged with, I guess, lying about when I met this person. So this is what this whole case was really about. It was a complete setup and a perjury trap, but you know, the information that I have now, and after I testified to Congress, I'm pretty sure there are a lot of recordings and transcripts of between myself and a lot of these assets, and I'm very hopeful that these are going to get public very soon, and the president is going to start
Okay.
declassifying this material.
So you told the FBI you believe you met him in March when in fact you met him in April, and that was the perjury. So you went to jail for what? How many nights?
I went to jail for 11 nights because of this. After I had honeypots, money thrown my way, wiretaps, surveillance by foreign countries, and then I finally get caught in some perjury trap and I go to jail for 11 nights. It was ridiculous.
So there you have it. Basically what George is laying out is the concept of this entrapment that was laid before him, where he was employed by this company randomly out of the blue. They obviously were monitoring this guy well before any of this even seemed like a possibility with President Trump becoming president. We were talking about June 2015 when he's having conversations with Corey Lewandowski about possibly joining the Trump campaign. Then subsequently thereafter, he's approached by this basically front for British, US, and UK, Australian intelligence organizations. Then he's introduced to this guy Mifsud under the pretext of him having some connection to the Russian government, right? Or connections he needs to know, which turned out to be basically nothing. And then this guy Mifsud tells him about Hillary Clinton's emails. Then he's getting people from the U.S. Embassy in London reaching out to him. I mean, you can see how this is all basically a big setup. And the facts are what they are. The facts don't change because of your feelings. And I hate to say that to all my friends and esteemed colleagues on the left. But look, the fact is that this is, as the president says, bigger than Watergate. This is going to be the largest political scandal of our country's, I think, since who knows what, since Watergate at least, right? So this is really big, and that's a story I think that needs to be told. And this is this is an example of a story that we got back in 2017, where we first heard the name Joseph Mifsud, and they were just, well, who is this guy? This is Mueller's predicate connection to the Russians. But now, as Papadopoulos pointed out, he's living next to the U.S. Embassy in Rome, and he's being protected by the Italian intelligence agencies. So this is way bigger than any of us could ever imagine. Now, who are the Italians basically controlled by? I hate to say it, in my humble opinion, the Vatican runs that country. Not to mention a bunch of questionable individuals with questionable ties to questionable organized organizations, if you know what I mean. I don't want to say anything, but yeah, it's pretty bad. So there's that. Now, here's a cool one that happened today. If we're just going to go through other news now real quick. Donald Trump's Twitter. If you guys are not on Donald Trump's Twitter, I don't even know what to say to you. You have to come here. You have to start reading through this Twitter. Its feed. It's incredible. We're going to go over that a little bit later here too. But here's a tweet that President Trump put out and corrected today, where he actually wrote stolen incorrectly. And everybody had a great time saying, oh man, President Trump doesn't know how to spell the word stolen. Although many anons on the boards were literally, it's so funny. They were pulling up, making graphics of President Trump tweets from going back years where he's using the word, where he's used the word stolen, and he spelt it correctly. So obviously, you know, a typo happens, but was it really a typo? I love what this anon pointed out. Double L's, Loretta Lynch. Could be some messages here if you actually read the tweet itself. Yeah, it says, despite the tremendous success that I've had as president, including perhaps the greatest economy and most successful first 2 years of any president in history, they have stolen 2 years of our presidency, collusion, delusion, that we will never be able to get back. The witch hunt is over, but we will never forget Make America Great Again. And yeah, Does that sound like somebody that we know? Possibly somebody who goes by a one-letter name, Q? We will never forget. But anyway, this is put in here with the stolen and the two L's, and the Anons were putting together. Oh man, that must be Loretta Lynch. So there you go. Here's another breaking news story. This just came out as of yesterday. And this is a statement from the National Security Advisor, John Bolton. He says, in response to a number of troubling and escalatory indications and warnings, the United States is deploying the USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group and a bomber task force to the U.S. Central Command region to send a clear and unmistakable message to the Iranian regime that any attack on United States interests or on those of our allies will be met with unrelenting force. The United States is not seeking war with the Iranian regime, but we are fully prepared to respond to any attack, whether by proxy, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or regular Iranian forces. And this is an ongoing situation that we're going to have to just stay attuned to. But you guys have to understand the severity of it when you have the National Security Advisor announcing basically on behalf of the president that we're sending an entire carrier strike group and a bomber task force. So into the Middle East. Now, that means that there may be some big conflict brewing there, and we're going to have to just stay on top of that. I think it's very interesting to note that President Trump has been working and having a phone calls, I guess, or having a phone call with Russian President Vladimir Putin, and they've been figuring out these different very delicate situations. I think the two things right now President Trump is the most adamantly standing up to President Putin about are A, what's happening in Cuba, and then B, what's happening in Venezuela, and they're very much interconnected. The Russians have everything to do with what's going on there. The Russians are the ones, in my opinion, who kept Maduro from fleeing the country when he should have left. I'm not one for interventionist policies all the time, but I do think that the fact that the people of Venezuela are starving, and I have firsthand experience with that country through family members who live there and work there, I can tell you right now, family members, and let me just put this straight, family members that not only live there and work there, but were driven out by the Chavez regime, let's just put it that way, that country is of the most high importance for us to stabilize, because it also acts as the same thing that Libya did. It was a cap on South America. And that's why you're seeing this incredible, the destabilizing effect of having the formerly richest country in South America now the poorest and most, basically hardest to live in, and the most severely affected by these incredibly terrible socialist governments and regimes, basically dictatorships. This is bad for our country as well. We're all interconnected in this world, and we're all going to feel the effects of when certain things happen. So just like in Libya, when Gaddafi was overthrown, as bad as a guy as he was, you saw the flood of people out of northern and central Africa into Europe. And we're seeing the same thing here with what happened in Venezuela. And it's just another example of something that we have to really pay attention to. And it's just a sign of the times that we are in. So I figured I'd cover that story real quick. And here's a hilarious one. The Senate Democrats, get this, they actually have this, I think it's like a congressional committee. Anyway, they wrote a tweet out. Do you want more Supreme Court justices like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, or do you want more justices like Brett Kavanaugh? So literally the poll came out 72-28, and they had to delete the tweet. Obviously, they're not expecting the will of the people to back up what is happening in reality. They want us to believe that the whole country is in support of their supremely progressive liberal policies, super left ideologies. That's not what the American people want. They want constitutional justices who follow the rule of law, who follow what the Constitution says, and not do what most judges are not supposed to do, which is conduct judicial activism from the bench. This one's kind of interesting. I thought I'd share it anyway. It's this woman, presumably over on Facebook, who said So my house was broken into yesterday while I was at work. Don't worry, George is okay. Fortunately, the alarm told me, and Summit Police apprehended a man with his 10-year-old daughter ransacking the house. The bad news is my neighbors took a vote and decided the girl was innocent and only there because her dad brought her. Now I have to give her a room, feed her, and pay for her to go to school. Worse yet, since she would be abandoned if her dad goes to jail, he's been found innocent and I have to let him stay with the girl and feed him too. If you think this sounds unfair, then you understand DACA. And I just thought that was an interesting opinion. I'll let you guys make of that what you want. Yeah, I thought it was kind of interesting. And of course, like I said, President Trump's feed. This is an epic feed. You guys have to get over here and follow President Trump on Twitter. If you're not on Twitter yet, I suggest you do it just for if you only follow President Trump. You'll be okay. You'll get pretty much everything you need, especially now that he started retweeting everyone. And these are some of my favorite things. First of all, he's retweeting Paul Joseph Watson. And if you guys know on my channel, he's one of my top featured channels. And he was just banned off of Facebook, and I think unfairly as well. And the only reason I look at him and I put him up at the top featured is because his content is the type of content that's protected 100% completely under free speech. And there's more to it, but I just have to say that it's refreshing to see the president tweeting this out and spreading the word. But what's interesting is right after that, he talks about the radical left-wing media, saying, when will the radical left-wing media apologize to me for knowingly getting the Russia collusion delusion story so wrong? The real story is about to happen. Why is the New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, and MSNBC allowed to be on Twitter and Facebook? Much of what they do is fake news. Now, this point in and of itself is so critical because it outlines the hypocrisy and the prejudice of the leftists, big tech companies who run Silicon Valley and subsequently run these social media platforms, which are supposedly open speech platforms under Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, but we all know that's not true because they've taken the role of a publisher and editorializing who can and can't be on their platform, not based on anything other than what your political beliefs are, which is completely against the agreement that was signed and signed into law through the act that was granting them these vast legal immunities from the individuals that are going to be posting on their platforms. So with that being said, it's kind of like President Trump's saying, look, these people are literally reporting lies on a daily basis, yet you don't ban their accounts. And somebody who does the research, uses facts, gives you intelligent analysis is being banned for what reason? Oh, because you don't like them as a person? Because someone somewhere said something that Mark Zuckerberg doesn't like? It's insanity. And trust me, I've been fighting this and going up against it for so long now. It feels like I've been in this battle against the censorship since day one almost. And it just continues to get more and more pronounced. And we continue to see the slow degradation of our rights online. And we have to have action. And President Trump, I've written this letter. I'm going to publish it on the website later. It's an open letter to President Trump, and you guys should come watch this video if you guys want to see what that is. But it's basically me making a plea to the president and Congress to act against the digital dictatorship that we are up against today. But with that being said, I want to say thank you guys for watching. A few things before we go. I have a special announcement. You guys want to stick around. First of all, hit the subscribe button now if you guys haven't already. It helps channel out big time. And make sure you hit the like button if you guys want to see more content. And watch these videos, share them on your social media, because trust me, the algorithms at YouTube are not pushing this info anywhere other than to the people who are already subscribed. So you guys got to do your part and hit the share button. I know it takes a lot of effort to hit the share button, and I do mean that. I'm not trying to be sarcastic, but please do it. It helps channel out big time. And leave your thoughts, theories, and insights below because I want to hear what you guys have to think about everything. Don't forget to come over here and check out Patreon, patreon.com. It's a crowdfunding website, patreon.com/justinformedtalk to be a link in the description. Click this button to become a patron. It's a monthly donation. And like I said, I've been going up against censorship since day one with YouTube. You guys supporting the channel is what makes a difference. So you can set your support as little as $1 or as much as you want. It's a monthly donation. Set it and forget it. Know you're helping create content here on this channel. Another way you can help out is coming here to the GoFundMe page I set up. If you want to make a one-time donation or an anonymous donation, that's a great way to do it to support the channel and the work that we do here. So I really appreciate that. Also, don't forget to check out the official website for Just Informed Talk. It's justinformednews.com. You get links to all the Q stuff. You get links to different news websites. You get links to different breaking news. And, of course, you get the latest videos from the channel here. Also, don't forget to come over here and check out me on Twitter. Check me out on Twitter at JustInformYou. That is at JustInformYou, the letter U, on Twitter. That's a cool way you can come interact with me. And I really appreciate when you guys come and check it out. So that's going to be it. I want to say thank you guys for watching. And before we go, we do a segment at the end of each one of these episodes called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it's truly greater. For this one, we're going to use a piece of scripture that I think's very, it spoke to me today in a way that, it's just, I feel like I need to listen more and look to God more, because none of us are perfect, and these words really spoke to my heart, as well as many others that I read in here regularly. But this is out of 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verses 16 through 22. I just want to share these words. They're pretty simple. Rejoice always, pray constantly, give thanks in everything, for this is God's will for you in Jesus Christ. Don't stifle the Spirit. Don't despise prophecies, but test all things. Hold on to what is good. Stay away from every form of evil. And that's it. Those are words to live by. Now, I know I'm not perfect, and I don't suspect any of you are as well. And when we look to God, we have to understand that God's always going to see right through us. We can't hide who we are from God. We may be able to hide who we are from our friends or our family or the public in general, but we'll never be able to hide who we really are from God. And as much as we want to tell ourselves everything's great and everything's good, sometimes we have to remember the simple things that God pushes us to do every day. Rejoice in everything. Pray constantly. Give thanks to everything. Give thanks in everything. Remember that God's will is for you through Jesus Christ. Don't stifle the Spirit that comes into your heart. Don't despise prophecies, but always test them. Test the things that you're not sure of. And hold on to what is good. And reject all forms of evil. It sounds so simple. It's like, yeah, my life could be so easy. I just do all of those things. Well, it's a little bit harder in practice, and I understand that. And I have to remind myself that God's in control. I'm not. I put my life to God. But that doesn't mean that I don't have to work hard every day to reaffirm my faith in God. And remember, regardless of what, other people see, regardless of what other people say, you know that God knows who you are in your heart. God's a forgiving God. We are all forgiven as long as we seek it. And when I say that, I mean our forgiveness is there. And all we have to do is look to God, and it's there. It's waiting for us. So that's my message to you guys. I want to leave you there. And I want to say thank you guys for watching this episode of Just Informed Talk. But that's going to be it for me. A few ways you can help out the channel. Come here, click the big red subscribe button, and hit the like button if you guys like this content and want to see me make more. That's going to be it for me, though. I want to say thank you for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.